Dead Bod Rap Pod. We are the home for in-depth conversation. It's like three non-problematic Charlie Roses.
Some Charlie Rosés.
It's Charlie Rose. There's a black screen behind us. We've in a very short period of time, in less than 30 episodes, we've talked to some really like legit legendary pioneers in the culture, people moving and shaking and doing great things. Today is no different. We have our first, no, not our first producer, but we have a producer who has done some really interesting work, both with the group Zion that he was a part of, as well as this Radiohead remix project, which was super huge, and just a lot of cool stuff, bridging the gap between what we would call back in the day keyboard beats and boom bappery. I think this is where he stands, and we're talking about Amp Live, who was gracious enough to talk with us and share some about his story. What was your first entree, Nate, into kind of the Amp Live universe? Through Zion I?
It was, definitely. I remember when they came out, like all the good albums were on New Groove Alliance. For me, that was like the TRC in-house label back then. So their first album and their first 12-inch that I was aware of, Mind Over Matter, was on New Groove Alliance. So I definitely took notice of them back in the kind of backpack rap days. And I always thought they were a really solid group. I've seen them live a couple of times. They throw a good show. Like they're kind of like some craftsmen. Like they approach everything professionally. The rhymes are good. The beats are good. So they're very solid hip hop.
Yeah, Amp is very well rounded. I first heard him on a track with the Grouch, and this was obviously the Backpack era. But then it's like Grouch over keyboardy beats, and that song worked until it got. Till it didn't, but that's not the point, right? I mean, I want to say up-and-coming producer, but he's been around for a while, and I mean that in the best possible way, He's ahead, and it's really good to see him doing things, especially with, living legends,
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah. So he he teamed with Dell for this new album they've got called Gate 13, and this is really a moment of single producer, single rapper albums.
Yeah.
And this is definitely part of that tradition. And it's cool because I feel like the Bay Area, even though Amp is a transplant from Texas, I like to see that the Bay Area kind of, Dell is definitely, you could say, old school, and like Amp is from a slightly newer generation.
Get your mid 90s, late 90s kind of schism.
Yeah, and they it's great to see that they're working together. And they've got a whole new album, 16 tracks, and we were very, very fortunate to be able to talk with Amp Live. Very thoughtful cat. So here is our interview with Amp Live.
Welcome back to Dad Bod Rap Pod. We're here with producer Amp Live. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you very much, man.
You know what?
Here.
Thank you, man. Thank you for being on. I know you got a lot of projects under your belt. You got the new one with Dell. Obviously, you had some past work with Zion and I just want to start at the bare bones. What were you listening to when you were younger, and what made you want to produce?
Man, honestly, it's weird because it doesn't sound as different nowadays, but I grew up listening to everything. And for my time period, that was like really unusual. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and so I actually lived on like more of the outskirts, right? So I was surrounded by mostly, white people, honestly. And so I listened to a lot of skate punk, a lot of country music, and just, stuff that you would see in Texas. But then I went to church on like the black side of town. So then, I was, playing the drums in the church. So I listened to a lot of gospel, blues. And at the time, I would go to Virginia a lot because that's where my mom was from. And my cousins were listening to hip hop and, go-go music. So every summer I'd go to Virginia, I'd come back with like hip hop tapes.
Mm.
And so, you know, I would just have all this around me. And my mom was really into culture. So she would make me go to classical music concerts, a lot of symphonies, a lot of like jazz, recitals, that type of stuff. Mm. So I just kind of had exposure to all this at a young age and just learned to appreciate everything. And that's the honest truth. So it's like, I've always been open to just any type of music as long as it just kind of just sounded cool and it fit me, even from like country music, because I just didn't know any better. So as things went, you know, and as I started learning to produce, like in the late 90s, you know, I was open to different sounds. You know, when I was younger, it was new wave and like techno, that type of stuff. So I would try to add those elements along with like hip hop and just that feel of like other music. Mm. So I just really try to, you know, I'm just kind of multi-genre. I mean, nowadays you have, you know, not only the iPod generation, but now even the streaming generation where you just listen to anything at a drop of dime. So now most of the kids are open to all types of stuff too. But for me, it was like a really, it was a process that started really early, you know?
Okay.
What was the first gear that you started working with when you kind of started dabbling in production?
Man, my dad played piano, and he played jazz piano, and he bought the Sonic EPS sampler because he was watching a Cosby Show, I think, and he saw Stevie Wonder. I think Stevie Wonder had the Cosby Show.
Yeah, jamming on the one.
And jamming on the one. So he bought it, and he never used it. So I went to his room and stole it, took it up to my room, and just started messing with it. And I was just sampling stuff off the radio and copying what I was hearing, like Eric B. and Rakim, and like I would try to find the loops that they were using, and like Snap, and who else? Like, man, I could just go back and date myself, but I was trying to copy a production that I was hearing on the radio, and I was doing a horrible job at it. But that's kind of like where it started, you know.
When did it become real?
The President loop, though.
All day.
All day. It became real when I went to college. So I graduated and I went to Morehouse College, and that's when I actually hooked up with Zumbi and two other MCs. So we were part of this group called Metaphor, and that's where, you know, at Morehouse in Atlanta, I was around people from all over the country. You know, so coming from Texas, that was like really a change. And so I was able to, you know, I got a lot of friends from New York, from LA. So I was able to learn not only different styles that they were doing, but also just take in different vibes. And like, you know, we all just started making music together. I really learned how to make hip hop music. And we got signed to Tommy Boy Records when I was a freshman in college. And from then, it kind of got professional because I was able to work in the studio with like Dallas Austin, Spearhead X, people like George Clinton, and you know, just a bunch of people I was able to watch produce. And it just really helped elevate me in terms of how to make like solid hip hop music.
Awesome. So I guess this is kind of a two-part question. I guess I would say, like, how did you guys end up in the Bay and in Oakland? And can you describe kind of what was going on back then in, like, underground hip-hop, or what we have taken to calling, like, backpack rap era? Yeah,
man, definitely. So this was, like, I graduated, like, around 95, so from college. And so, you know, the group broke up, and then Zumbi and I stayed together doing music. And we were in Atlanta. And during that time, you had Outkast. I think Outkast had put out AT-Aliens. And you had a couple other groups, but still, the major scene in Atlanta was still heavily commercial and, like, heavily, like, bass, down south, booty shake, you know, like, that type of music. So the stuff we were doing wasn't really jiving with people. Even though I know AT-Aliens had a little bit more, like, boom bap hip hop in it. Mm-hmm. Outkast was so cutting edge that like they were kind of the exception, but for everybody else, you know, they weren't getting too much of a response in that area if they were doing anything outside of like bass music. So Zumbi was from Oakland, so he ended up moving back home, and I stayed in Atlanta an extra year. And he was passing out the stuff we were doing, and he was like, "Man, people are liking the stuff." He's like, "I'm gonna stay out here and do it, man." So he's like, "You can come out here if you want, but I'm gonna try to do this." And I just thought about it, man, and I really just, I prayed about it and just was like, I have to make a move because I can't stay here. And I just came out to California to try to do it, and it's kind of like it really it took off from there. I mean, the Bay Area scene at that time was just such a breeding ground for underground music. I mean, you had Hyro, you had Living Legends, you had Quantum, you had the Anycom people, you had like so many different crews, and this was outside of the Too Shorts and the E40s and that whole scene. So you had all this meshing in the Bay Area during that time. So when I came out there, it was just like massive. I mean, it was just shows and shows all the time, and it was just great. You could be a group that had no fan base and just go perform at places just because the promoters liked your stuff, and yeah, it was an awesome time, actually, man. So that was like early 2000s, 1999, 2000, and then that's how Zion I started, and that's how things really took off.
Okay, perfect. Take us into the mind of a producer for a sec. You walk into your studio, you turn the light switch on, sit down in front of your computer. What's the first thing you do?
Well, for me, a lot of times I'll have melodies in my head that I've been working on, and it's just my time to kind of put stuff down. Or I'll just listen to samples and get some inspiration. It kind of just goes all over the place. So, yeah, it just matters what has happened throughout the day.
Okay.
So do you feel like, in your time coming from the kind of more rudimentary equipment to like everything that's available now, do you feel it's the readily available technology has helped or hurt the game of production?
Oh man, that's an interesting question because I do come from a different generation. I think it goes both ways, man. Honestly, because it's funny. Like when I did the Therapy at 3 album with Eli, I tried to do that album off of my MPC, and the first track, which most people don't know, which is called Contact, that was done on an MPC, and I worked like 5 hours on that beat, just like, on a computer would have taken me like an hour.
Right.
So I was just like, this is cool, I'll do it, I'm getting it to sound cool. And then it locked up on me. Like I made a bounce of it. I made a bounce of it to send to Eli, and then it locked up on me. And when those things lock up, you're not getting the beat back.
Oh.
And so that's what the final was. It was the track that I gave to Eli. And I was like, I'm through. Like, I can't do this anymore. And so I just kind of, at that point, I just put, I tried to hold on to MPC as long as I could. I was like, I can't. Yeah, I can't. The way I'm working now and at the level I'm working, I can't work like this. If I make a track and it locks up, I could be losing money. I could be losing a song, a big song, So it's like, for me, working on the computer has become more efficient, and it's just, it's just giving me more freedom. Now, the other side of it is, you're right, and I think more newer producers suffer from this. You do have too much selection, so you can actually spend an hour going through bass kicks. You can spend an hour going through snares. You can spend an hour EQing and tweaking a sound, and then you lose your inspiration, or you lose like your whole vibe. So if you don't kind of know how to set yourself up to kind of set, I guess, like I call them like vibe points or whatever. So basically, like, you have a kit that you go to just to build a track, and like sounds that are go-to sounds just to build enough for you to put down the main idea. Then you go back and you fill everything in through time with all the like really cool sounds and that type of stuff. But what you want to do at first is just get enough down to to capture that vibe in that moment. And if you're new at producing, you might not know that because you're just kind of like, I have to see, I have to have the perfect sound. I have to have this. When right now it's just you capturing what's in your head and making sure you don't forget it. So for computers, it's a tricky thing. It's way too much selection, and it's just all the freedom in the world. So it's kind of tough. But people have been creating some just ridiculous tracks because they have computers. So it definitely has elevated the production game big time.
So who right now are you kind of checking for production wise? Who do you look at and go, yeah, they have it?
Oh man, it's like there's so many people. I've been asked this question a lot. I just don't know what to say because it's so many producers. You can just go on Spotify and you just you can just listen to producer after producer just doing crazy stuff. Just matters what you're really looking for. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I'll just like, I'm like loving the new J. Cole album. Like the production on there to me is really tight. I'm listening to a lot of Hippie Sabotage and like a lot of like, it's just kind of, it's all over the place because there's so many people out there just doing cool stuff, and you could pull from all these different genres and all these different sounds and apply it to what you're doing, so for me, it's just hard to nail down somebody,
Who are your kind of Mount Rushmore producers? Who are the cats you were looking at as the kind of inspiration foundation for your sound?
Oh, I mean, the usual suspects that everybody, from the Dr. Dre's, the Timberlands, the Jay Dillas, like that's all just kind of in my DNA at this point. So I try to, that's like learning classical music at this point. For a producer, that's like the foundation. A lot of those guys and the sound that they set up is so prevalent to this day that you kind of can't, you can't get away from not knowing and having them is like your inspiration. But also, in terms of like just regular producers, like definitely like Rick Rubin and like some of the other guys that like have done like some really, really solid albums in the indie world these past few years. It's just, I don't know, it's just really cool like seeing different techniques and different ways people have like taken groups that they've heard and kind of twisted their music to fit the vibe of a certain album.
Cool.
So
Amp, I've got kind of a weird question, and I think you're a thoughtful dude, so you're going to take this the right way, but do you consider yourself to be a musician?
Well, I do play the piano. I do know music theory. So in that aspect, yes. Now, if you put me in a room with other piano players and other like people who really play it, I would probably be on the lower end of things. But I would still be in a room, for musicians. So yes, I definitely am a musician. In terms of producing, that comes into play a lot. But nowadays you don't necessarily need to know how to play,
right?
To produce, and that's not traditionally what a producer does, anyways. Traditional producer is an arranger and an organizer, and they know how to make a song, make sense. So to me, it doesn't even matter,
Sure.
But
I was just curious to hear what you thought.
Yeah. But just me in particular, because I do play the piano. Yes, I would be a musician.
Okay, right on, man, right on. Let's switch gears real quick and kind of bring it to the present. I mean, you've had multiple remix projects. You worked with Eli, obviously, Zumba, and now Del. How was working with him? And we've been longtime Del fans, so we're familiar with him as an MC, of course. But how was it sort of jiving with him as this lyrical
Del?
MC, and you're a producer? How was that process?
I mean, I've been working with Del for a while. I honestly, like, this is this is just kind of like the stars aligning to do this project. But even with Zion I, like off of our True and Living album, we did a song with Dell, and I did a couple of remixes for him during that time, like some like electronic remixes. And the biggest thing was when I did the remix album for Radiohead for their In Rainbows album, I got Dell to be on the Videotapes remix, and that was like the biggest remix off of that project. This was like 2007, I think.
Okay.
So that's when it really like started. And, you know, from there, you know, he was always a vet in my eyes. So we would open for them. I would see him, but, you know, we never really had like a strong partnership because he was just at a different level, you know. And so finally, through the years, as we started getting bigger and as my production started getting better, I was able to actually like capture his attention and like really get to know him. And eventually we just became friends. And like, honestly, like most of the time we're just talking about gear and just crazy, weird stuff. And the music comes secondary. So for this project, I mean, I just hit him up and we were just talking about just new gadgets and stuff. And then he was like telling me some of the stuff he's doing. And I had a track. I was like, dude, you should get on this track that I'm working on for his EP. And I sent it to him and he got on it. He's like, man, this is kind of like what I'm talking about doing right now. And I was like, well, why don't we do another song? And then that happened. And then it was like, okay, well, let's do some more stuff. And then before you knew it, we had like 12 songs. I was like, dude, we got an album. And after that, I just kind of homed in and finished all the production and made it work.
Right on, right on. And, you know, you've been around for a minute, and I mean that in the best possible way. You know, just as a sort of parting thought, what do you want to say to, you know, all the up-and-coming producers out there who've been inspired by your output?
Man, you know, just for one, master what you're doing and just really make sure your tracks are sounding good and try to make them different. And, you know, I've been biting my tongue on saying this, but I think people need to get off the, like, you know, I'm waiting for rappers to pay me and this type of stuff. And make your own albums. Like, come out with your own brand. Like, you don't have to have MCs and singers on your tracks. You can have your own project under your name and have your own fan base. And then when you work with other people, it makes you that much bigger because right now it's a lot of work for hire producers and they don't realize it. You know, producers don't realize that, like, you're not even on, it's not that you're on the bottom of the pay scale, but it's like, if the MCs aren't making money, you're not making money. And it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
Like, that's essentially what electronic music is artists, producers. You know, and it's like, it's the same thing in hip hop. Why do you think Jake One came out with his own album? Why do you think Metro Boomin came out with his own album? Why do you, like, you need to do your own brand and stop begging other people to pay you. Like, set up your own brand.
Perfect.
You know, and the sky will be the limit. Once you have your own fan base, people will be coming to you. So instead of you having to turn in 100 beats for somebody to pick two, they'll be asking you to just make anything. Please just make me a track.
Right.
You know, that's what you want. So it's like, you know, I want producers to start just curving their mind state a little bit and like kind of update their business.
Perfect. Yo, well, on behalf of Damone Carter, Nate LeBlanc, and I, thank you for being on the program. And everybody, pick up the new album with Amp Live and Dell, and we'll be checking for it. And thank you again, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it.
All right.
Peace,
Talk
man.
soon. Peace.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Dad Bod Rap Pod, Dad Bod Rap Pod, Dad Bod Rap Pod. Hey everybody, it's me again, Damone Carter, aka Dimp One, joined by my compadres, Mr. Nate LeBlanc and David Ma. How y'all doing?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Happy to be here. I know people at home can't see, but we're all shirtless right now. We're ready to go. We're going hard on this one.
Pretty much in kind of a Terry Crews flex mode. the entire episode. Can I briefly talk about? I experienced a World Star moment in real life that I'd like to share. It doesn't necessarily correlate. No, it does. Actually, I'll segue this, and y'all will see that I'm really platinum with this. So I experienced a World Star moment in real life. I went to the grocery store on Friday night. I had to work late. Got to a local grocery outlet, who I won't mention because they're not a sponsor. And it was about 10:30. They had about 2 people working the checkout lines, and each line was about 20 people deep. Oof. So you know when you're in the supermarket and the line's like mad deep and people are kind of pissed off, and there's just kind of like a general grouchiness permeating through the spot. So I'm just kind of waiting my time in line. Luckily, I brought the earbuds. I'm kind of just listening to music. I'm off work. You know, I got my tofu and some udon noodles. It's about to go down. You know what I mean? So I'm good. I'm living the dream. And so I see a gentleman with a bunch of beer in his shopping cart. You know, kind of looks like Gordon Hayward. Kind of bro-ish. Let's call him Brad for the purposes of this story. Brad's got a shopping cart full of beer. Him and the homie, I guess they're going to refill because they look a little saucy. Homie goes to get chips or something, whatever. Brad's just kicking it in line. Into the scene comes a young lady who you might want to call a chola of something if you're not from California, the West Coast. Kind of a hood chick. She's got her J's on. She's got the hoop earrings. You know, she's about her business. She's just kind of coming in with her boyfriend, who, you know, looks like he's with the shits. And so they're just kind of walking in. They see the long lines. They're like, oh, this is bullshit. They're just walking around. So eventually they get in line. Safeway opens up another checkout line, and there's a dispute about whether they or Brad is first. And, you know, there's those moments in life when you can almost, like, smell danger. So I smelled danger and entertainment, and I quickly, like, craned my neck around to see what was going to happen. And there was some exchange. Chola chick was like, hey, we're in front of you. And he was like, Brad leaned over in her face, and he was a little saucy, he was a little drunk, and went, shh.
People don't like that.
They really don't. And it was almost like that slow motion train wreck. I'm like, no, Brad, this is not gonna go well. Yeah, in a real condescending way. So it was like the Triple Crown. He kind of seemed like a gentrifier. He was being like a male chauvinist dick, and he was drunk. And she reared back and slapped the shit out of Brad, like slapped the fire out of him.
I'm anti-violence, but I kind of am thinking good for her.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
totally.
I was like, okay,
Yeah.
you kind of had that coming, bro.
Hell yeah.
But then boyfriend steps into the scene and just starts going to town. Like, he's just wailing on dude's head. He throws him on the ground. He's kicking him. And it's that odd, like, World Star delight of like, oh, violence. Oh my God. I hope he doesn't get a concussion right now. This is like, it kind of got wild for a second.
Wow.
I'm old, so I didn't whip out the phone and scream World Star. I kind of feel like a chump afterwards. I'll do better in the future. That could be good content for our. But it's a reminder, like Cholas, Wu-Tang Clan, nothing to fuck with. Nothing to fuck with.
Well done.
Don't do it. I told you.
There was a long kite on that tail.
Yeah,
I mean,
it was.
nailed tail on that
It
kite,
was.
but-
You gotta ride with me sometimes. You gotta get in the passenger and just go along with that. And it's all because I didn't get the video, so I have to really draw it out.
And they almost killed a bee.
Oh, that's unplanned, you guys. This is the spontaneity that you come for. So the postscript to this is Brad and his homie are outside of the supermarket when I walk out, and his homie looks at me like, I just went to get chips. What happened? And I was like, man, Brad was being extra. And I just kind of walked off. So I was like, yeah.
Shrugs.
He was being a little extra. He kind of lightweight had that coming. So yes,
Everyone should
don't
stare at their phone.
please, human contact should be avoided at all costs. But you know, it reminded me of a almost a Wu-Tangian moment of wanton violence in the supermarket.
Could
So
literally be a skit.
On a
Like
Wu-Tang
a
album.
third tier Wu-Tang album.
Killer Bees reunion. Killer Bees return. Yeah, so if you're our age, obviously Wu-Tang plays a seminal role in your kind of hip hop experience, right?
Looms large.
Like huge. And so today we're gonna play a little game in just a little bit to test Nate and Dave's knowledge of obscure Killer Bee lyrics from
this is gonna
Master
go well for
Killer's
me.
fourth
Yeah.
album. No, seriously.
I just want a disclaimer though. I'm not good at verbatim. Right? So
You're not good at says the writer. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I can't tell which ODB grunts those are. So
Okay. Well, we'll see how it goes, and
We'll
down,
try our best.
yeah, down the line we can you guys can try to stump me on some shit. But Nate, like, what was the gateway drug for
Sure.
Wu-Tang to you besides weed?
Well, before that, I was in junior high, and
Fuck, I hate you.
I remember Cream coming on CMC, which for those of you who don't live around here was a.
that's exactly my story. Dude.
Yeah, is it? Same thing.
Literally.
Yeah, this is why we're friends.
Wow.
Shout out to
so-
Chewy Gomez.
Yeah, so
Right. Wow.
that's like a local radio show. It would do videos in the after school block, and they were really, because it was like a public channel, I think they were like extra super sensitive about bleeping things out. Like there would just be long periods of silence if there was anything kind of suspect in the lyrics
Even
or
lightweight,
even the
controversial.
content.
Yeah.
So I remember seeing that, being very intrigued by the whole look of it, the darkness of it,
Yep.
just like the crazy. I didn't know it was the Charmels at the time, but the
Right.
like beautiful sample, and just like being like, what is that? I need to know everything there is to know about that. So I actually ended up getting the CD from Columbia House.
Wait a minute.
for a
and
penny?
the penny CD
Yeah,
plan?
yeah.
Nice.
You sure you want to out yourself? Because I know you still owe him like 29. Remember that you paid a penny and then you ended up owing him $400?
Totally.
I've been through all that. Came out on top.
He said Hove did that, so you don't have to go through that. Yeah.
So, and then there was a time where with me and my friends, like we would listen to it as kind of like, this is funny, but always in the back of my, especially like the torture skit. And
Sure.
it's
Right,
kind of
right.
like, now that I think about it, I think that like they did not get it, but I always felt like I got it. I'm like, yeah, it's funny. That's a funny skit. And like, there's a comedic and a performative element to what they do, but what it really is like some of the greatest hip hop ever made.
Ever.
Yeah.
And it's just so brilliant. So that's kind of my origin story.
Arguably the greatest rap group of all time.
The greatest supergroup.
Yeah.
The greatest supergroup for sure.
We didn't know that at the time yet. There
No,
was
totally.
there was no branches on the tree. It
Yeah.
was just this crazy
Right,
record.
Right. It wasn't until a bit later that I mean, when going back to the Cream video, I was unable to distinguish between the MCs. I was just like,
Yeah.
I'll hear all these awesome dudes, right? And then it wasn't until, oh my God, that's Jizza, that's Method Man, that's
Yeah.
and everything was purposeful and uncanny. Then it's like, mind blown.
I've always kind of wondered like how Method Man got his own song.
I
He's
know.
the one guy you would know who he was, right?
Well,
Not only does he have this crazy
Well,
distinctive
Tikal
voice,
came out
but
first, so wasn't that part of RZA's grand scheme?
Yeah.
To sort
yeah,
of
he
roll
selected
them out
he
first?
selected Meth as the kind of lead off.
There wasn't like a You Got track first on that one.
smart choice.
Woo! You God's book available on Amazon.com. So it was the same for you though. You got it via CMC.
Yeah, straight up, Chewy Gomez.
Man, CMC was dope because they had like 4 videos they could show in
Yeah.
a half hour.
Yeah.
What was your origin story, Damone?
I actually, being a little bit older than you guys, I was in a record pool. I was in a record pool, and me and my friends were like this kind of near do well DJ crew, and we were in this record pool, and we got the Method Man single, which had "Protect Your Neck" on the backside. So we
Still
used
have
to.
that?
They were communally shared.
The
so-
very first Protect Your Neck 12 inch is quite rare.
is it?
Yeah,
Is it?
Especially on the West Coast.
It's the black and white one?
No, it's before that. It's on like
Oh.
a different label.
Jeez,
and like,
never
yeah,
mind.
it's like,
Bobito has it.
yeah.
Pretty much.
Pretty much had to be in New
Okay,
York at
okay.
the time to have that. It's like
I
a
will
very
check my crates
sought-after
now.
record, yes.
Yeah, just
Talk
because
about
I
that
got
later.
I got kids to put through college. So yeah, we got the 12-inch of Method Man, and played it, mixed with it, made tapes of that song, and like Protect Your Neck was somehow an afterthought to us. And then I don't know what happened. One day we rolled the right, dirt weed and really clued in on Protect Your Neck. Like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, this is wild.
Went
like,
out and bought turtlenecks the next day.
Pretty much, man. Yeah, I was floored by the grittiness of it because the moment was trending towards a really clean, polished sound. We were like right on the front end of the G-Funk era, and there was this kind of movement in rap to make things sound more R&B like, more smooth, and their shit was just so raw by design.
Yeah.
But so raw and almost perfectly imperfect that I vibed with it immediately. If I put a gun to your head, who are your two Wu-Tang members that you're gonna take?
Ooh.
I'm a Ghostface guy. I love Ghostface.
Yeah.
He's just so charismatic, and he stayed better longer. So he has
Right.
he has a lot of good
Right.
albums.
He has a third act.
Yeah, totally.
Ghost and
I'm gonna say RZA.
Ghost and Riz?
Because of the just architectural nature of the plan and the business acumen, and just some of my favorite beats ever.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
such
100%.
a unique rhythm to his beats. Like they're
Right.
just, it's instantly distinguishable of who it is and where it comes
Right.
from. And he was sampling the Stax Volt catalog
Right.
super
Right.
hard, which I'm super into. So it's just like taking some pretty obscure things and turning them into gems, and just like he's just brilliant. So
Did you ever see the PBS music documentary where they spent a good 15 minutes on how he made Cream,
Really?
the beat? And my wife is not the biggest hip hop fan, but we were watching it together, and they played the sample, and then they played how he slowed it down. And
Yeah.
she's like, "That's absolute genius." So I'm
Yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
Totally.
oh, hey, you got it. Yeah, yeah. Dave, you're two. You got to go to war.
I
with.
mean, it kind of sucks because Nate and I share one brain when it comes to this shit. But I would have to say I gotta say RZA for the acumen and the beats and just being the overall mastermind, right?
Right.
Favorite solo Wu-Tang album for me has to be Liquid Swords, though. I mean, can't
Okay,
fuck with it.
okay,
And I know there's
okay.
a couple contingencies are, a couple parties that are sort of Cuban Links or Liquid Swords, but I've always been sort of the Liquid Swords. Now, as an MC, I would say Ghostface later, of course.
Okay,
Because he's the only
okay.
one that sustained himself.
That's interesting, like dynamic. The Liquid Swords versus Only Built for Cuban Links. It's
Yeah.
almost like fantasy versus kind of a grittier street reality. Like this
once
is
mafioso sort
yeah,
of
this like
narratives.
dope dealer rap
You're
versus like
Italian, I'm Japanese.
Right.
the multicultural aspect. Like they literally, I mean, really just appropriated
They did,
stuff
they did, they
like with abandon
Yeah.
and just really made it work. I mean, RZA
Right.
in the sense of licensing those old karate films was
No, 100%.
yeah.
And,
No,
and,
he's
and it's
pure
a thing
genius.
that they grew up with. So, I mean, it seems very organic. You know what I mean? It's not sort of this blind appropriation. It's like, we
Sure.
love this shit.
It's reverence.
Yeah, we're going to use
It's
Shogun
referential.
Assassin's sample in this because
Right.
we loved it.
right.
You know?
Right. So
What would yours be, man?
the two, I'm a huge
Besides you, God.
besides you, God.
This is his life.
I know.
Yeah.
He's the punchline.
Hey, he's got a book out on Random House.
Author, you God.
Get the You God book, where I guess he complains about the Wu-Tang pay scale.
That's
They have
what
a new-
he's been doing for decades, though. Like
You gotta
that's
have
your
that guy
shtick.
though. That you gotta have that guy. That's gonna be Jerry in 20 years. Like Dad bought Rap Pod. Like they didn't pay me nothing. I didn't get.
They still owe me.
Yeah. So my two, I would go Ghost and Ray, almost as
Ray.
more than the sum of their parts.
Okay.
Ghost, I don't believe there's been a better 1-2 together than
Okay.
Ghost and Ray. Ray's solo output, you could be like, okay, it hasn't been the greatest. There's a college guy, I think he got drafted the other day, named Raekwon.
Yeah. That's
After
how old we
Raekwon.
No way.
Yeah.
No
Yeah,
way.
yeah. So their influence shines, but the reason I love them so much is because their arguments are better than people's songs.
Right.
You know what I mean? On the beginning of Cuban Links, they're not necessarily arguing, but
Right,
they're just
right.
kind of going back and forth and talking, and their banter
Yeah.
is
Is a good song.
a good song.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just like
Yeah.
I know this banter word for word.
There's a rhythm to their speech. you know.
Absolutely, and like a this kind of like stream of consciousness
Oh right.
flow that they really pioneered, and so yes. Besides you, God, Ghost and Ray for me, but my thought here was to let's do a little quiz to see if you know your Tang.
Here we
Do you know your Tang?
We'll see.
And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read without any inflection which will be hard, actually. Actually, it's kind of hard. I was trying to do this earlier, and I'm like, no, don't say it like Ghostface. So I'm going to...
Ghostface.
Yeah, good.
I'm just gonna say Capadonna to everything.
Yeah, do we buzz in?
Yeah. I know.
How do we do this? Turn over your phone when you're ready to answer.
Yeah. So what we're going to do, it's like lightweight Family Feud style. I'm going to go Dave first.
Okay.
And he'll have a chance to answer it.
Okay.
If he fucks up,
I can steal.
you can come in and steal.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
So what we're going for is I'm going to read the lyric, and then you tell me who said it.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Whose rhyme is it anyway?
Oh.
Wu Tang edition. Here all week, folks. Here all week.
Yikes.
Okay. So that was in the notes,
was good,
you guys.
though.
It's like woo
yeah.
woo, don't tell me.
NPR nerds, we're here for you all day. All right, so we'll start with Dave here on Wu Tang Feud. All right, here's the lyric. You tell me who said it. Put the needle to the groove. I get rude and I'm forced to fuck it up. My style carries like a pickup truck.
Ghost.
And
No. Like how my style carries. Like,
put
Jizza.
I'm sorry.
Jizza.
And
Oh, is it Inspector Deck?
correct answer, Inspector.
Ah, that was my second choice.
Inspector Deck.
It's so hard without the inflection.
right. I know.
Absolutely.
That was my second choice.
Absolutely.
All right.
All right.
This is
Next
embarrassing.
up, Mr. Nate LeBlanc.
All right, here we go.
A young youth, yo rocking the gold tooth, low goose. Only way I be getting the G off was drug loot.
Who is Raekwon?
Yes.
Damn it. Damn it. I'm out of here.
All
Judges.
right. Nate,
I keep it.
you keep the crown.
All right, here we go.
Next one. The poetry's in motion, coast to coastin'. Rub it on your skin like lotion.
Who is ODB? Oh!
Method.
Method Man. Dave strikes back.
Oh, this is so embarrassing.
This is.
I'm adding these up, and when you get to 36, you won't know. Jokes. I don't have that many.
I'm gonna like lock myself in a chamber for not knowing these. These are really elementary.
That was level 1. I have them like leveled.
That is the way you're reading him too. I must say, well done on the sort of
Yeah.
neutral reading.
Corny inflection. All right. Here we go. It's on you, Dave. Slamming a hype ass verse till your head burst. I ramshack dead in the track, and that's that.
Ghost.
Ghostface. Ding, 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 ding.
That one. All right.
Yeah.
This is first level. So.
Okay. You getting in early. All right. Here we go. Next one. Your boy got funky breath like the old specialist, a carrier, messenger, barrier.
Inspector Deck.
Oh.
Jizza?
ODB.
Oh man.
I should have known if it was
like
about
the old
breath.
specialist.
Dude, you
a
say.
messenger, carrier. Sorry.
Oh, fuck.
Sorry.
Wow.
You say that, and in 2 seconds you know what
Yeah,
it is.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Jesus.
It's all in the inflection, right?
Yeah.
I guess because
wow.
Doom is not an answer. If it's a breath quote, it should be ODB.
That's true. That's true. Since Doom wasn't available.
Yeah, they both have a lot of bad breath rhymes.
All right.
Yeah.
So it's Dave 2, Nate 1.
Man.
It's getting kind of hectic in here. All right.
Judges.
You ready? Well, shit. It was on you, Dave. All right. My deadly notes reign supreme. Your fort is basic compared to mine.
Ford.
Fort.
Okay. Can you
Fort.
spell that? No, I'm just kidding.
Is it in a sentence? Wait. Is this a Wu-Tang Killer Bee?
I know. wait,
Damn it.
Are you tricking us, dude? Are you?
Sorry.
Are you throwing
No.
a Shaheem line?
Are you
No,
throwing
no.
darts right now?
Damn it. My deadly notes reign supreme. Your fort is basic compared to mine.
Inspector Deck.
Jesus. I'm just gonna keep guessing Jizza until I,
know.
get one right.
You're going Jizza?
Jizza.
How about I read it? My deadly notes reign supreme. Your fort is basic compared to mine. Domino effect, arts and crafts.
Oh, now you're sounding like Ghostface.
Capadonna. Close enough. Close enough.
Okay.
Off of Triumph. Triumph.
Okay.
Oh,
Triumph.
All right.
All right.
we just know the first 2 lines to Triumph. You know that.
Bomb atomically. Anyone.
Anyone?
Bomb atomically for 5,000.
Google Socrates.
All right. I guess it stays with Dave. All right. This is level 3 now. I mean,
Okay.
You know what I mean? Get your.
We
Leveling
really
up.
should have had Paulo here for this.
Totally.
He would have known
What?
every
He's
single
a
one.
savant. It would have been the
know.
worst game ever.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
Just him
one
telling
word.
us the next lines. from all of
Totally.
these.
Totally.
What song? What
Shout out
pressing?
DJ Cutso. Shout out.
DJ Cutso, my dude, like,
Come and
yeah.
save me.
We-
I suck at this game.
Oh, you know what? Had I set it up properly, we would have done a line in. We would have done phone. We would have
right.
done phone a friend,
Yes.
Cutso, which would have been saved you. But for now, let's continue the debauchery. All right, Dave. Verbally, I catch bodies with cordless shotties. Intriguing MCs, I keep them trained like potties.
Raekwon. Fuck.
You God.
The author? From the book?
That is the Jizza.
Jeez.
Should have stuck with my plan.
Are these all from 36 Chambers, Damone? No, I was kidding. What is this, their 3rd solo release? I don't
Sorry,
I
that's
was
from
kidding.
Liquid Swords. All right, here we go. Dave, 18th try. Here we go. Silky texture. Jordan jumped up like Clyde Drexler.
Ghost.
Yes. Dave, with the impressive 3-1 lead. But we all know what can happen with 3-1.
Jizza.
No, all right, you ready? I think your ship has come in.
All right, here we
I
go.
think your ship has come in. And I just went over to,
Yeah, we're
to
just
Nate because I'm
in
just
a pity
cheating now.
move.
Yeah,
We're
this is just
shifting
NBA
over.
playoffs, straight cheating, makeup calls. All right. Damn, this is kind of messed up though. Tactical Narcotic Task Force, back off fast, because the crime boss is passing off cash.
Raekwon?
I would have guessed that too.
You want to venture a guess? Tactical Narcotic Task Force, back off fast, because the crime boss is passing off cash.
Capadonna.
Inspect the deck. Inspect the deck. Ladies and gentlemen, this is difficult because I'm
Right.
saying it like an accountant.
Hey, props for the research though on the Lions,
Yes, I
man.
appreciate the research.
Very diligent.
Digging deep here. Okay, all right. So this last one,
Winner take all.
winner take. No, there's 2 more. There's 2 more. So theoretically, you could tie this.
All right, here
and
we
then you
go.
guys have to just reenact the torture skit, word for word, until somebody messes up.
I feed myself every night. So, I keep feeding and
Keep
feeding.
feeding you, dad bod.
Jerry, do you keep a hanger in the studio?
I'll fucking.
myself. Nice.
All right, Nate, this is your time, bro. Okay. You're a crossbreed. I'm a knowledge seed.
I literally have no idea.
You
I'll
want to
just
venture a
guess
guess?
a member.
It's one out of 9.
1 out of 9. Who haven't we done yet? Let's see here. Method Man.
Ooh, no. No.
RZA?
No.
Oh.
ODB.
Oh. That's a good,
You're a crossbreed. I'm a knowledge seed. I want action. That's what I need.
that's a good half bar.
Memorized very many of his songs.
Apparently not. All right. All right, last one.
right.
All right. And you know what? This now it's your time.
All
This
right.
is you right here.
You keep saying that.
Let me pull your brain out your ass with a hanger. Dude.
Who would say that? Shoot. Yep, I have no idea. I'm not good at this.
In fairness, that wasn't a complete bar, right?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Inspect a deck?
No. Actually, it was not Inspector Deck. Dave,
Horrible
just to
about
crush your competition right here.
I'm just gonna guess Jizza.
No, that is Method Man.
Oh man.
And so,
I am horrific at
and
this.
so we have in the first competition of whose rhyme is it anyway? Wu-Tang edition. It was a little tough. I think that the reading it without inflection just makes it totally esoteric
but
and weird.
reading it with the inflection would completely
Would completely
Totally.
give it away.
Right, 100%.
Would completely give it away. So, yes, this was sort of an abomination, but I am opening myself up. If you guys want to come and test me with like Anicon stuff, I know you can. If you want to give me like a
Nice.
Sage Francis, totally here for it.
Man.
I appreciate you guys being good sports.
Yeah, for sure.
No,
I tried.
good with the diligence, dude.
Yeah,
With the-
Wu-Tang lyrics, nothing to fuck with. Dad bod rap pod. Don't get involved with any of them. Dad bod rap pod. And a one and a two. We want to thank you for listening to another dope episode of the Dad bod rap pod. More fly conversation and interviews coming your way every week.
You can find the podcast on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/dadbodrappod. And we're always down to interact with you on Twitter @dadbodrappod, all spelled out.
Subscribe on Stitcher, Google Play, and iTunes.